All right. As I said right before we started, I apologize for the first time. I am not cooking along because I don't have access. This is a very expensive hotel room, but it didn't come with a kitchen. And so I don't get the choice of cooking along. And I am twitchy. Like I'm already nervous because I don't get to cook.
You need to be doing it, right?
Just like you guys know how much I love to cook. So Leslie, thank you for coming aboard and tell us why you picked this particular recipe.
Well, this recipe, I think the way I ended up doing it for your show is I sent you a picture because it looked good when I finished making it. And so I'm going to tell you a little story about me and cooking in my family.
I never can make food look good, so.
Yeah, I can't either usually, but it looked good. So I wanted to show it to someone who would appreciate that I made something that looked good. But we have a joke in my family that my partner, David, he only makes like 2 or 3 things. He makes pasta with red sauce and he makes pesto and then he makes tortillas. But I never make the same thing twice because I like to try new things. So depending on who's cooking, you're either going to get something and you can pretty much guess what it's going to be, 1 of 2 or 3 things if it's David, or you have no idea because I'm cooking. So this
I have
is
a family member. He's like perfect at making lasagna.
And that's the one thing.
Dish.
Yeah. Well, the things Dave makes, he's great at, but that's what he does. So I like to play around. So I was playing around with this recipe. So I've only made it the one time I sent you the picture for. So let's hope it turns out good on this second time, right? You never know.
Well, it'll taste good. Well, you can lie to us that it tastes good because we won't know.
That's true. Well, we'll have to see what Barbara says. So I'm going to adjust my camera a little bit and just go over the recipe a little bit, the ingredients. I don't know if you can see, but this recipe calls for, well, first of all, I want to tell you, I pre-bought the gnocchi. I don't have much experience with pasta making, and I'm still working full time and, plenty busy. So I have not made gnocchi by hand. Someday I hope to. But that's
I've made it once and it was actually fairly easy because you're just making a blob of dough.
Yeah. Well, you stick the potato in it and seal the edge. I think what I've seen on TV, they
actually, I asked me to look it up, and I was surprised because I was wondering the same thing. Is it like little ravioli? But the recipe was they just mix. You make the pasta and then they mix it with the potatoes.
So it's basically a potato and flour together to make potato noodle.
Okay.
Because I was wondering, how can they get that potato in those little teeny pasta things?
Right.
They don't.
Okay.
They mix it all together.
So it might be easier than I thought. Okay.
Yeah. I put your recipe in the chat for anybody who wants to go along, but.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. So I'm always on Pinterest looking at, what I do is I look and see what ingredients I have in my house. And then I go on Pinterest and I put in the names of those ingredients and put recipes.
I use an app called Recipe Roulette. You can put it in there and you spin it and then it gives you an option. You're like, nah, spin it. Here's another one.
So I'm doing my own version of that. I'm just typing in the ingredients. And so that's how I came across this one. I had made gnocchi for my boys when they're little. They're adults now. And I just sauteed it in butter once. I was in a hurry and they loved it. And I was like, I haven't really done much with gnocchi. So I Googled gnocchi. I bought some gnocchi and came home and thought, no, I don't want to do it in butter again. So that's how I found this recipe. And the person who wrote the recipe, I don't have her name in front of me, but she said it's really fast. And so I'm like, okay, that's good for, someone who's always busy. So you have to have your pound of gnocchi. You need 4 cloves of garlic. And I'm just going through this. A teaspoon of Dijon mustard.
Wait a second. Is 4 cloves enough?
4 cloves is enough.
It's like
You can add more. If
usually they just say like 1 clove, 2 cloves. This is actually
this is heavy on the garlic. But I'm a huge garlic fan. Like sometimes I will double the garlic in a recipe. Just I'll taste it and I want more. So the sun-dried tomatoes, I was going to tell you what I did. You can usually buy them at the store. I think it was Isabel said she couldn't find any. In
Well, a
Carbondale,
lot of countries, you only can get fresh ingredients.
that's right, that's right.
Yep.
Yeah, and when I lived on a farm, I
I-
actually made them. I would take my own tomatoes and slice them and put them out on the picnic table and let them dry. You could also do it in the oven. But now that I'm not on
We,
the
we
farm.
used to do it in the car. You put, because the car gets so hot,
Ah,
you just put the trays out in the car
yeah,
and then, but where we live, it's very humid. Then we pop it in the oven for like 5 minutes to just
To dry
do
it.
that final dry.
yes, yes, because that was the hardest part, is waiting long enough for them to really get dry. Here in Carbondale, you can buy them at the grocery in a jar, soaked in olive oil with herbs and all that, but it's pretty costly. So I go to a store, and or you will be familiar with it, called Fresh Foods. And I buy a container of sun-dried tomatoes. And this is
Right, so
$2.49.
they're not packed in any liquid or anything. They're
Nope.
actually
They're
just,
just all on their own.
I like
and-
taking those for traveling as a snack.
Exactly. And you can, they last forever and ever. And what I do for this recipe is, this is just any old jar, just so you know, I slice them the day before. And I put in about a half a clove of garlic and some olive oil
Okay.
and let them soak overnight. I'm trying to show you that I spilled some.
I was like, I almost caught that in my mouth, but not quite.
That garlic olive oil, yum. So that's how I save money on the tomatoes, because they're just so costly. I just make them myself, like whatever,
I have
spicy-
a multi-tier dryer now and I do a half a bushel at a time now. 'cause
Nice.
It's
nice.
the base for my spice mix is sun-dried tomatoes, so.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. Forgot about that. Calls for a
I
half
was
cup.
able to get the dried tomatoes.
Oh, you
I
did
found
get
it.
them?
You
Was it
did?
hard to
Yeah, I
get
did.
in Ecuador?
I mean, it wasn't actually hard. I did have to ask because it's something that I don't use actually.
You
But
have to go find them.
I found, yeah, it was in the supermarket in a section I never go because
Right.
it's imported. But
Yes.
yeah, I did. It was easy, but I have never tried that brand, so that's always good.
Where was it imported from? What country?
In the supermarket, there's I think it's from South America. Let me see.
Okay,
That's a good
'cause
question.
sun-dried tomatoes, it tends to be an Italian thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I don't know where mine are from, and
Excuse
I
me.
don't have a jar of them because I haven't bought any in a long time. I'm not planning to if I can keep from it. You do need Sauvignon Blanc. I love, if you've never had it, if you have access to it, the Kendall Jackson wines. They're not super expensive. They're not super cheap like Boone's Farm that I drank in high school, but they're a little step above that. So Sauvignon Blanc, and as you can tell already, this is going to be a very rich recipe. You need butter. You need grated Parmesan. I think the first time I did it, I was low on grated Parmesan and I combined grated and shredded. This is a really rich dish and I don't want to use the shredded this time. I think it'd be just too much. It does call for heavy cream and then a handful of fresh basil. And I really.
Isabella
love
typed that
this.
her sun-dried tomatoes were imported from
that?
Spain.
What's that?
Isabel wrote that her sun-dried tomatoes were imported from Spain and Ecuador.
Okay, okay. Well, I lucked out on the basil. I'm on this Facebook group where people sometimes exchange things or give things. And I
If
got.
you have a basil plant, you have way too much. And
Exactly.
If you don't have it, it's
You
very
just wish you
expensive.
had some, yeah. So I got to go to this woman's garden yesterday, pick all the basil I wanted. So I have.
Now
basil.
that's Italian basil, not Thai basil.
I think so. This is your plain.
More like,
what they
yeah,
call
that's definitely,
sweet-
that's a sweet basil. Yeah.
Sweet basil.
Sweet basil, yeah.
And then there's,
Which is an
I
Italian.
got a little bit
Ooh.
of this. It's
Purple
not quite,
basil.
not
That-
quite so sweet.
That
And
looks
I'm
more
gonna-
like a Thai basil with the
I
taste it.
tasted it. It tastes,
Does
It's
it
just
have a
a-
little anisette flavor?
it's good. I'm gonna add
The
it. to
Thai
the-
basil has a little anisette kind of licoricey flavor,
Yeah.
slight.
So I just
yeah,
thought
the
I'd
Thai
add it.
basil, you have to be very careful because it's super strong.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but this isn't Thai that I got, is it?
The purple
I-
is probably.
I think the purple, no, the other one is a sweet basil.
Okay, so
I
the
made a
purple-
mistake of making pesto with the Thai basil
Oh
once,
my goodness.
and it was way too strong. Like I had to use like a quarter of the pesto normal. So the advantage of it is once you know, you can
You don't
stretch
repeat that
it
mistake?
further, but careful.
So that's all it takes. It's not much. In the winter, the first time I made this was in the winter. There was no fresh basil to be found in Carbondale. So I bought that. It's sort of like semi-dry. It comes in a little container. It's like, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 ounces. And you can get it. It's in the produce section.
It's
So
still
not,
leaves, but they've like,
yeah, they're small and dry. It's
Yeah.
not as good as fresh basil, but it's better than like completely dry basil seasoning. And it still turned out pretty good. So I think this is going to be even better.
Now, reading the ingredient list, I mean, you've got garlic, mustard, sun-dried tomatoes, wine, cooking cream, Parmesan. There's a lot of really strong flavors here. If you don't balance them out,
That's right.
it's gonna be overwhelmingly strong in one or the other.
That's right. And it's a very rich dish. Usually my son, who's 22, can eat like 3 times what I do. I ate a small serving and he ate just a little bit more. I mean, it's just really, really strong. So one of the things I was going to talk about, and I'll talk about it while I'm getting my basil ready or my garlic ready, is what you could pair with this. So I'm getting my 4 cloves of garlic now. The first time I had this, we made this, the other time I've made this, we had salad that night. And we had a simple salad with simple greens, little feta on it. I think we cut up a red pepper. So I am going to have a salad with this one as well. I've got someone peeking in my window making faces. My family knows I'm doing this, so they're trying to bother me. And
You have a crowd already, an audience.
Yeah, they're goofy, looking in the kitchen window making faces.
Are they doing that, or they're just like panting for the good food?
They're not panting yet. I don't even know if they know what I'm making. They just know I was doing something. So what I don't know how you guys do your garlic. This is the only way I really know how. I mean, you can buy it pre-cut. I take the garlic, off the bulb, and I smash it. And then I peel off the outer.
Yep, it makes it really easy to peel it if you smash it first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what we're going to be doing is putting a tablespoon of butter in the skillet, and then we're going to be adding the garlic to saute it. So I'm going to go ahead and get my tablespoon of butter melting, and I'm going to put my stove on low so that I have time to cut the garlic and the butter won't start like getting too.
And are you caramelizing the garlic, or are you just going for like just basically kind of cook?
The first time I made it, I used that pre-minced garlic, and I think a lot of times I don't have time at night, so I think I caramelized it without meaning to, so it had like a roasted feeling, and that might make it a little too rich too. I don't know.
Yeah.
So
I would think if you caramelized it, it might end up being too many rich, strong flavors.
Yeah, it's a really intense dish. So anyway, I'm gonna do my garlic here, smashing it.
I wonder if they normally, like you said, serve with salad and probably just a very plain bread, the richness.
Yeah, I was going to tell you what I was going to do this tonight. I have some bread left from yesterday. I think it's pronounced ciatta, C-I-A-T-T-A. It's simple white bread. It had a loaf from yesterday, so I'm going to add that to this. And I'm going to have a salad, but I also like to go to the farmer's market and get what's in season, So we're having some fresh carrots in our salad.
Excuse me. Are we starting the sauce? You're melting the butter, and we put the garlic in there.
Yes, when you're ready, you're going to saute the garlic for about, it says about 30 seconds in the recipe. So whatever you like,
Just barely saute it. Yeah, you're not trying to
It doesn't burn. Yeah.
Doing that now.
Okay, you're ahead of me then. Help me catch up. I'm just dicing my garlic here.
It doesn't apply here probably, but I heard from another cooking thing that quite often in Italy, they just throw the whole clove of garlic in there, skin and all, and then they just sort of retrieve it out of the dish rather than fiddle around with all
Take
that.
the paper, yeah, just,
I like that idea.
They don't even take the paper off. They just throw it in and then you can recognize it because it's floating around there in the dish.
I have definitely done that with soups. You just throw the whole clove in there.
Yeah.
And then you do have to, if there's not much moisture, you have to have moisture for the skin to become
Peel off.
edible, or you have to scoop the garlic back out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Isabel, it seems like every time you're on, you're in a different kitchen. Or just a different angle. I don't know.
So I'm going to drain my tomatoes and I'm draining them into a bowl because I want to reuse this.
But you know, I'm getting confused because you seem to be doing two different things. Talking about bread and tomato and
So Barbara, she had soaked her sun-dried tomatoes in oil. But basically you can just, if you got them, just cut them up and put them in.
Yep.
yeah, I just now I had them and they weren't soaked in that. So, but now I have taken the butter and garlic and put it in the fry pan.
Yep.
Right.
And then,
Yeah, you should be sauteing the garlic.
and then you julienne the tomatoes long and skinny strips.
Yeah, that's what I did with mine, but if you prefer in smaller bite sizes, tinier pieces, you can make them. And then add the tomatoes.
And add the tomatoes, okay.
And while you're getting the tomatoes in there, go ahead and add your teaspoon of Dijon mustard.
And
That's
what?
just a teaspoon of Dijon.
And what else?
After you put your tomatoes in, you add a teaspoon of Dijon mustard.
Okay.
So far we've got butter, garlic, sun-dried tomatoes, and Dijon mustard.
Stir that a little bit. And then
And
you're
you're
gonna
still
add,
just keeping it on the lowest temperature, right?
I would say medium low. Oh man, it smells so good, the Dijon and the garlic.
You're basically just trying to warm everything up.
Yeah, and then you add your half cup of white wine or sauvignon wine.
White wine.
White wine, sauvignon
And
wine.
by adding it early, it'll cook off most or all of the alcohol.
Mhm. Yeah, because you're
But
supposed to
it'll
cook it.
definitely increase the flavor. Oh my goodness. That
I know, it's really good.
first time I ever used white wine, I was like, wow, it really
It's fun.
enhances
It's
all
fun.
the flavors.
How much wine was it?
It's half a cup.
Okay.
And then you go ahead and stir everything. And you let it cook 2 minutes. And I'm gonna set my timer because that's the kind of thing that I could totally mess up by talking or something. So mine's just barely simmering. And while it's simmering, I can't read my writing. I gotta get my cream out of the refrigerator.
I love the fact that Suzanne's working in the garden and listening in.
I know, that's awesome.
It's like, just like,
She's working on those
I've
veggies.
I've listened in on cooking shows while I was working or actually taking a walk, and I always felt like right now I feel very much like a voyeur because I'm not cooking alone.
You
This
know,
is
the
my
last
first time
two-
doing that.
The last two shows, I was in the car. I
That's
think.
true. You
And
were
so I just brought it up in the car so I could watch.
just like,
So I'm getting my 1 cup of heavy cream ready.
so.
And-
Now, are you actually trying to reduce down the wine, or are you just trying to warm it up?
Not much.
Because you're
not
just doing it
much.
for 2 minutes, right?
Yep, just 2 minutes.
Yeah, so you don't want to really reduce that wine down.
I don't think it does. Like I said, I've only made it once. And if it turns out good today, I'll make it again.
Well, that was like that sweet lentil dal you made from
Yeah.
like I never thought of dal as anything but savory. We made that sweet one, and I've made it multiple times. Really simple, and again, it seems like a little too rich because
Yeah, I have a dish
lot of
that's lentils and sweet potato,
oh
but it's not a dessert. It's a, you know, it's still savory, but
yeah, it's a savory, yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so when your 2 minutes is up, which mine is up, you go ahead and add the cream. It's heavy cream, so it's really a rich dish.
Whole cup of that, huh?
Yeah,
Yes.
I didn't get cream, I got half and half.
Okay, well then I assume that's not quite as thick, right?
Yeah,
So I would assume.
Just put the same amount. It just
same
will be
amount
less
or a little
rich.
less. Yeah. Oh man. and
Maybe if
stir it
you really
into this-
wanted to, maybe added a little extra butter.
Yes,
okay.
I was gonna
But
mention
at
that.
the end, taste it and then see if you feel like it needs to be a little richer, then you could add a little bit
Little
of butter.
butter, that's right. And you go ahead and after you mix it up, you put in your pound of gnocchi.
Do you wait? So you didn't wait until it got back up to a boil.
Nope. This is one of those fast recipes. It will come to a boil shortly. All right. And you give it a good stir and cover the pan and heat it up on like medium level heat, moderate level heat for about 5 minutes. So I'm stirring it up real good. Actually wrote
I think gnocchi is one of those things that you can very easily overcook, and then it basically you have a pan of mashed potatoes. So-
yes, exactly. I'm stirring it real good here. Some of my gnocchi are stuck together. I'm unsticking them.
So the gnocchi, does it come, the one you bought frozen?
No, it's
Or-
on the shelf. It's the only one I have found in Carbondale. It's with the regular pasta.
Okay, so it's a fresh noodle. Now, is it hard or soft?
Uh, It's
Yeah,
soft.
but it's not a frozen, okay,
It's not frozen, it's in, one of those airtight packs.
right, yeah.
Oh, like an air.
I just,
vac-
whenever it's frozen, I always forget to thaw it out, so I was
No, I do that
asking if it
too.
was a frozen one.
Right.
Well, it seems like it's cooking and getting a little thicker.
It should be. Now, I've got my stove pretty low. Like I said, medium. I don't have mine quite up to medium yet. I'm kind of,
You're just slow, just barely simmering it?
mine's not simmering yet, but that's what I'm going for.
I
I'm just.
got mine on
increasing it slow.
medium, pretty much.
Yeah, and I just turned mine up a little bit. I'm going slow because I don't want to get distracted and turn it high and burn it. Because it would be awful if you burned it. So,
I'm really interested in what Isabella thinks of this recipe, because this is something I've ate like lots of times. It's very like, I don't know, Spain, Italian. But definitely, but I don't know, the sauce almost seems to be a French influence.
yeah, it does seem that way with the cream and the
The
wine.
cream and the wine, so.
Yep. So while that's cooking, I'm going to get my Parmesan and basil ready. And I just measure out the Parmesan. I forgot how much it was, half a cup, I think.
Now,
Yeah,
what
half
are you
cup of-
talking about bagel? Because that wasn't in your recipe.
No,
What's that?
basil is in the recipe.
Oh, basil, but I thought you said bagel. I know, where's bagel?
We're at a half a cup freshly grated Parmesan cheese.
That's right. So I'm just getting.
Man, there's a
mine
lot
ready.
of unami in this, huh? Fred?
This is more like a northern Italian dish where they use
Okay.
less tomato sauce and stuff.
Yeah,
Right, that's true too. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. Okay.
and it's a generous handful of fresh basil, thinly sliced.
Yeah, so I'm going to slice my basil and get it ready. And I'm going to add just a tiny, tiny bit of that Thai and see what it does to it.
That Thai purple basil.
Be
Huh?
careful.
Okay,
Maybe that one you just serve,
Yeah,
Because
you
it's
could
purple.
garnish with it.
use it as a garnish because it's so
Yeah, that's a
beautiful and
good idea.
colorful.
Yeah, because you can't take it out once it gets too strong in your dish.
Especially in this dish, it's just going to be like so full.
Yeah, that's too beautiful to like waste and throw it in there. Use
I
that
feel
as a garnish.
About every herb too. I just love the smell and the appearance. So I'm just getting mine off the,
Fred, is it common to like add mustard to a cream sauce.
I don't think that's too unusual.
Gives it a kick. Now see, mine's going higher than I want. I'm gonna turn it down.
There's a lot of flavors in here. Garlic,
Smells so
mustard,
good.
sun-dried tomatoes, the wine boosted up, the cream, Parmesan, and
With all that cream, you gotta be careful you don't scorch it.
Yeah, you just want to eat a little bit of this, is my opinion, because it's so strong. But it's yummy. I think you
I
ate
never
too
can
much.
just eat a little of anything. I mean, come on. It's just
But we're gonna have fresh asparagus on the side with this because they have
Ooh.
the
so you're doing a salad and fresh asparagus
that's why I was gonna say.
and some bread.
And some bread.
That
'cause it's
sounds like
on-
And then are you
Yeah.
gonna drink that same wine with it?
You know, I was thinking about that. You know, what wine would go good with this really rich dish?
Well, my go-to is Kendall Jackson Chardonnay.
Okay, that's what I was thinking, a light Chardonnay or a Merlot. A light.
You'd want a
red wine.
light, you definitely want a light wine if you did
Definitely,
it.
I promise you. Like I said, this is some of the strongest, richest stuff I've ever made, but it was good enough. I'm willing to try it again, you know?
Yeah.
I'm picking the little leaves. I'll just. throw
And I
them-
think you could probably make the same with any type of pasta, but you'd
I would
have to
think so.
pre-cook the pasta.
Yeah.
But you'd
That's
want,
right.
I mean, you'd probably want pasta with more surface area. You wouldn't really want a
So that the
spaghetti
cream
or,
will stick to it, yeah.
or angel
sauce.
hair, but
Mhm.
Or,
I don't
or
know.
you could make the sauce and then pour it over the pasta rather than putting the pasta in
That's
the
right.
pot.
True.
You could. This was
But-
this again is one of those one pot wonders you're supposed to do.
I bet this is a sauce that you could make it, like make a lot of it and then
Freeze
freeze
some?
little bits of it for, individual servings later.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's always better fresh, but
Okay, so mine is it's been almost 5 minutes. I don't know if you can see, can you see what it looks like right now?
we
before
see
I-
steam.
Yeah, let me lift it up a little bit. It's,
Should I add salt and pepper on it?
yes, when you're ready, you can add salt and pepper. That's the
Oh.
next thing is add the basil. And I'm gonna sort of slice my basil longwise, throw it in, and then maybe taste it, add salt and pepper, and then taste it. Kind of see where I am on things.
So you just right before you serve it, do you add the basil or you can do it
Yeah,
a little while before?
What is
Yeah.
that thing where you roll up those spices, chiffonade or something? You roll them up and then cut
yes,
it?
you can chiffonade it if you want to. I have a lot here and I'm gonna make it fast. Like I said, this is gonna be my fast recipe. So I'm just sort of, I laid the leaves down on top of each other and just cut them vertically.
But I mean, the recipe says a generous handful. Everybody has different size hands. A generous handful for me is like,
This is my generous handful.
it's just like, so
So I'm gonna
It's
add my generous
probably-
handful.
actually basically a half a cup.
I would say I have more than a half cup.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but I love basil, so. And since I get it fresh, so I'm just stirring that in here. All right,
And
And
with
then
sweet basil,
basically-
it's kind of hard to put too much basil.
oh, I love basil. So I need some salt. Oh, oops, I think I forgot the Parmesan. Yeah, the Parmesan goes in at the same time with the basil.
All right.
Gotta melt the Parmesan. I was like, what am I not doing?
It's,
You can see there's a lot of stuff in this dish.
Wow,
oh, yeah.
that is rich.
Really rich. Like I said, the first time I had it, I had about a quarter of a cup or half a cup serving. It's like, well, now I'll have my salad. You know, it is,
And yeah, you want a salad without much richness to it. So
yeah.
probably don't
I had
put,
my salad that time, and I'm not a big dressing person. I just had greens with a little feta, and that's all I had in my salad that night. So I've added some salt. I'm gonna add some fresh cracked pepper.
ooh,
Oh yeah, gotta have black pepper in there. And then you taste test it. And it's, I mean, I wish you could see this cheese. It's just like thick and drippy.
we do see it.
It's so
Parmesan,
good.
Parmesan doesn't tend to melt that much, but that has like a little bit of a melted creamy texture.
Yeah, and I think, you know, you've made this thick cream base. So the Parmesan just sort of, I don't know, it just sort of absorbs into that base. So that's it. It is the fastest thing ever. Now I'm going to taste test mine. Let me get a spoon. It'll be really hot. So Barbara and Isabel, whoever's
Well, the
cooking-
Parmesan will add a lot of flavor because you don't have a lot of separate spices in there.
Nope, you don't. I like it because it's so few ingredients, but I'm gonna see how it is here. See the cheese dripping? Personally, I like it.
So what is the first flavor you taste when you like
It
taste?
was, I had a little bit of basil in that bite. So I tasted basil and then the cheese flavor. And then I had a little tomato taste.
There you go.
So I would serve
Yes,
it with,
when you serve it with the salad and the bread and all that, if you make it all fancy, feel free to
you
like
can.
tease us with a picture of it.
Okay, so
Yeah.
mine is finished and it's delicious.
Is
The
it?
sauce. Now, what about the gnocchi? Should I put that in water and boil that, or should I put it in the
No,
sauce?
you were supposed to add that before the noodles.
You add the
I mean,
gnocchi,
before
You
the,
can add it right into the pan.
add it right
now.
into the pan
Oh, I
now.
can shred it into the pan with the sauce.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
And-
I'm gonna do that right now.
And heat it
Yeah.
on, maybe keep it on low heat and let the,
what'd
No,
you say, for
yeah.
like 5 minutes?
yeah,
Like, yeah,
5 minutes over, I do it over medium low because I am so worried about my cheese and stuff scorching. It does it so easy.
yeah, I
I'm-
mean, that cream and the cheese can burn really easily, yeah.
You could almost do it in a double boiler if you were worried about it.
But
So I'm gonna put a little in a dish. Gosh, I'm gonna put enough in here to make it look like a serving.
oh man, this is the first time I haven't cooked along. I don't have like the stuff to taste. Like,
I know. I
I'm
want you
like
to
literally salivating here, just the imagination
Yeah,
of what it is like, what it tastes like.
Call room service and say if they have potato gnocchi on the menu.
What is it?
Sun-dried tomatoes
Right now,
and
I need
basil.
one of those teleportation devices so I can go to Illinois to see Leslie, and then Nevada to see Barbara, and then Ecuador and go do a taste
That would
test
be
of
fun.
everybody's. So,
That would be fun. I think I lost my video. Hold on. It happens.
any final questions? And then we sit down and just chat while you guys eat and I salivate.
If you have this with, I'm trying to get my camera up here. If you have this with bread and salad, a little light wine of some kind, we enjoyed it.
All right. Any final questions? Thank you very much, Leslie.
Oh, of course, of course. And if someone else is cooking, I want to see yours, like when Barbara's is done and whoever else is cooking. This is gonna be an awful video because of me and my camera issues.
So, all right, I'm gonna wrap up the recording. Thank you very much for doing this. And I forgot, I should have looked up what's gonna be next week, but
I remember.
And mine next week.
oh yeah, we're going to Africa. I'm excited.
What are we having?
Just like, so.
Cool.
We're having a goosey soup with fufu.
Oh, that sounds
Lucy with
good.
fufu.
That you have to get the ingredients before.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Just
Start
like
looking
here,
now.
you had to get the ingredients, otherwise